What's up guys, Nature from Protoculture and Shadow Chronicles back here again at Sonic Academy for another one of our top 5 plugin videos. Today we're checking out some glitch and creative effects plugins that are totally free to add a little spice to your loops and productions. Let's check them out. Right, let's jump into Cubase and check out some of these plugins. I've got 2 different sources here just for the sake of this demo. We're going to drum break and a arpeggiato loop from Anna. Just so that we have some sort of atonal and tonal material to work with here. Let's check out the first plugin. This is Argotlunar by Michael Retnick. And it is actually a granular plugin. So we have covered some granular plugins before. I like this one because it's less of a sort of paddy kind of sounding granular. It's less smooth. It kind of gives you quite sort of rough sounding, glitchy, granular sounds from the buffer that it samples. A lot of these same sort of controls that you'd see in most other granular plugins. You can change the delay times, duration of your grains, the amplitude and panning of each grain as well. You have your mix section over here. You can change the pitch, which is nice as well. However, you can also change the pitch with a slide or glissando, and you can lock them to your scales down at the bottom here, which we're going to check out in just a sec, which is a really nice feature. You have a filter section as well, and a section here controlling the shape of the grains. Let's just slowly dial in some of these and see what happens. So we'll change the number of grains to start off with. It's around 15. Let's bring up the delay time, and we're going to set this to clock sync, so let's do 16ths. Bring up our feedback as well. Change the grain duration. Play around with the pitch. Use the slide as well. And let's just dial in the filter as well. So this one is less of sort of like a beat sort of mangler that I would use this for. It's more for like sort of creative effects and stuff. This correlation matrix is interesting as well. You can actually use some of these modules to modulate other ones. So the amp, for example, and send that to your filter frequency. So you can get some interesting modulation happening there as well. And lastly, the chromatic or the scale lock function. I'm just going to quickly show you that on our tonal material. If we open up Argotlunar, let's just turn up the feedback, turn up the delay and the duration. So there we're certain grains. We're going to lock this into, we're working in a D. We'll lock this into a minor, play with our pitch. You can see our pitch grains actually syncing to whatever scale we choose. Let's grab a major 7. I'll bring this down as well. Cool, so some interesting effects that you can get out of that. Let's move on to our next plugin. So this is Krush from Tritik Audio. Now this is just a distortion plugin, but I've included Inear with the creative effects and glitch plugins just because the effect that you get out of this specifically when you start fiddling with the SNH filter that's included. Now this is a great sounding bit crusher as well. Let's just take a listen quickly to what this sounds like on our drums. So you have the drive section, which is your distortion. Turn off our drive signal. Now we can crush this as well. Notice with the crush as well, as you take the bit rate down, it almost turns into like a gate, which is interesting as, when we start applying the LFO to this as well. And then also your downsampling. And you have a filter, resonance, frequency, and you can switch between HP and low pass filter. But now this gets interesting as a glitch plugin when we set this to sync. And we'll choose something like a 16th note time bass and set this to SNH. We'll dial in some settings. Let's go with the crush first. So crush on full, and then we can use the modulator to SNH and modulate that crush depth. Let's go with the filter as well. Back off from the crush, we'll try the downsampling. So there you go, quite a nice little bit crusher that, and I love that little SNH filter just for sort of automating in those little glitchy automations, especially on drum material. Let's check out the next one. We've got Fracture from Glitch Machines. Now these guys have a ton of very out there sort of glitch orientated buffer effects and so on. A lot of them are paid. This one, however, is free, along with, I believe it is Hysteresis as well. Hysteresis. But I quite like Fracture. You've essentially got three little modules here. You've got a repeater, which is kind of like a micro repeater. It's not your typical sort of locked beat repeat kind of thing. You've then got a filter section over here in the middle, and then a delay module right at the end. Now, this over here will be your dry wet signal, or the delay mix, sorry. Your dry wet is over here, the level, and the dry wet mix down here. You can also choose the order in which the modules feed into one another. So this one, I'm going to just flick through some of the presets. There's a ton of presets in here, and you get some pretty out there sounds with this. Let's take a listen. Let's go full wet. So there you have it. Works great on tonal material as well. We'll take a quick listen to this. I got some interesting sounds out of this one running on this ARP as well. Pitch delay kind of sounds. So there you have it. Fracture from Glitch Machines, and there we go. Great, so our next one is Anarchy Rhythms. We're going to check this one out quickly. It's a sequencer that's attached to 4 little modules down at the bottom. The thing that I like the most about this is the pitch modulation for each of these. So as it triggers a pitch. You can set a comb filter for this as well. There's also a length modulation feedback for the comb, and also lastly, which is quite interesting and really handy as well, is this oscillator dial, which allows you to trigger an oscillator with the break as well, or with the rhythm that you're playing. So let's take a listen. We can solo one of these and check out some of the effects. So we'll trigger those like such, the blue ones which correspond to that. Let's turn this to full wet and take a listen to what we're getting. Okay, that is our first one. Play with the length. Play the filter for the comb filter. Let's dial the pitch up now as well. Sorry, that is the oscillator pitch there. So aside from these knobs here, you can also adjust the envelopes for them as well. Let's take a listen there. Even the panning as well. Filter width. Volume. And let's start dialing in some of the other ones here. This one we're going to actually add in an oscillator. You can see our oscillator here is currently set to noise. We can actually set that to sine as well, even load a waveform. We'll start it with a sine and it would fade into noise. You can adjust the pitch of it as well. And there you have it. Quite nice for just adding in little accents to drum loops, and also that oscillator, the oscillator feature is really kind of handy. Like if you wanted to add a little bit more of a sub into a kick on specific sections, it's quite nice for adding in just that little bit of extra thump to a breakbeat or a little bit of noise, for example. So interesting little plug-in this, quite like this one. Which brings us to our last one. Probably my favorite out of the bunch is Danaides. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. This is from Linear Display. Let's check this one out. Zeroed. I'll quickly run you through what it does. So that is nothing happening currently. Let's just double check. Okay, there we go. We've got the FX sequencer on the top and then the dry wet sequencer on the bottom. So let's just, for the sake of this, we'll run the dry wet sequencer full for the whole section. You can set individual time bases for these. Maybe do something so we can get sort of like a polyrhythm thing going here as well. We'll run that in 12 steps and this one in 16 on the top. You can randomize them as well, like such. And let's just take a look here now. You'll see these abbreviations at the bottom. They correspond to the various different effects that you have here. So we have the driller, which is DR, the RD, which is the reducer, and the MT, which is the metalizer. So let's actually just set this to 4 steps. So we just have our reducer currently playing, and we'll just take a listen to each one of these. So that's pretty self-explanatory, the reducer. The metalizer, We'll just set these all down to metalizer. This is essentially a micro delay that you can use the feedback to get these metallic sounds from. Turn up the feedback. And lastly, the driller, which sounds a bit like this. The buffer size. And the ratio. And now we can also automate or modulate a lot of these functions with our LFO section. The LFOs are quite nice in that you've got LFO 1, which is comprised of A and B, as well as LFO 2, which is A and B. Now you can use LFO 1A as a source, you can use B as a source, or you can use the combined output of LFO A and B together. So you can set different shapes and rates for each one of these and then morph between the two. So you'll see we have our stable one going there, and we can kind of slowly start morphing to B, which gives us quite a different result. So quite complex shapes that you can get out of these. You've got a few different shapes as well, saw up, saw down, triangle, square, S and H, which is really nice. And let's just randomize some of these. We'll see what we get and play that back. We'll just add in some random modulation as well. Cool, and that brings us to the end of my 5 creative effects and glitch plugins. There were a few honorable mentions as well, however I didn't include them because of the fact that they're no longer 32-bit. There used to be a whole bunch of really good plugins such as Buffer Override, which was a personal favorite of mine for years. D-Blues Glitch, that is still available in 64-bit, however it's only version 2 which is 64-bit compatible. And that is a paid plugin, however not a lot of money. The original version is still available, but only in 32-bit versions. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video and found this useful. I will catch you again soon right here at Sonic Academy. Cheers.
Thanks everybody for watching, commenting and indeed liking. We really do appreciate all the support we get here on our Sonic Academy YouTube channel. So if you found this video super useful, please, we'd love you to hit the subscribe button. We update the YouTube channel every week with new content. And if you want to watch some more relevant content, just click on the videos beside me.